Imagine you're a young fighter pilot in 1940, you're 20 years old, you've trained for barely 6 weeks. And now you're flying straight into the largest air assault Western Europe has ever seen. You grip the controls of a Hawker Hurricane, a machine built for speed and survival. But here is what no one told you until it's too late. The enemy can see you, long before you can see him. Because behind your aircraft is a blind zone so lethal, so perfectly placed, that German fighters slip into it like ghosts. No warning, no shadow, no engine sound, just silence. And then gunfire. By midsummer, RAF commanders are terrified to admit the truth. They are losing the Battle of Britain faster than Britain can replace its pilots. Not because the Hurricanes are slow. Not because the pilots are unskilled. But because they're flying blind into an enemy they cannot detect. Amid this crisis, an unlikely figure appears. Not a general, not a designer from a prestigious firm, not a military scientist. A man who, by the standards of his time, should never have had a voice in aviation engineering. Frederick George Miles. Self-taught. No formal aeronautical education. Dismissed politely in meetings. Ignored by those who believed innovation could only come from established institutions. But in the middle of the chaos, while bombers roar over London and young pilots fall from the sky every day, Miles is watching the one thing no one else is looking at: airflow over a wing. He believes airflow carries signals, tiny, invisible distortions created when another aircraft moves into the space behind a fighter. Signals that could give pilots what they are dying without: reaction time. His proposed fix is so simple that officials consider it laughable. A thin strip of fabric attached along the wing. Loose enough to flutter. Fabric. In a war of steel, fuel, radars, and engines, cloth. When he presents it, engineers scoff. Some say it's childish. Others say it's pointless. One report labels it ridiculous. No one takes it seriously. But the RAF approves a single test flight mostly to silence him and move on. And that's when everything changes. The moment a Hurricane lifts off with the strip installed, pilots notice something unexpected. When another aircraft passes behind, even at a distance, the tape reacts instantly. A flicker, a shiver, a flutter caused by a subtle shift in pressure, a shift that always occurs when another plane enters the Hurricane's deadly blind spot. Before sound, before sight, before the attack. On the next test, the tape twitches just seconds before a trailing aircraft moves into firing position. Seconds, but for a fighter pilot, those seconds mean survival. The cost? 11 shillings per aircraft. Less than the price of a good dinner at the time. The impact? Transformational. Once the strip is installed across multiple squadrons, RAF losses drop in a pattern too large to be coincidence. Pilots, including raw recruits, suddenly react faster. Ambush that had previously ended in fireballs now fail. Hurricanes start escaping attacks that had once been certain kills. Some units report casualty reductions approaching 40%. A strip of cloth is changing the dynamics of aerial combat. Miles does not seek credit, he doesn't patent the idea. War leaves no time for celebration or debate. The tape becomes another quiet, practical tool in a struggle where every minute matters. Speak to surviving Hurricane pilots, and you hear variations of the same story. A moment when instinct seemed to erupt from nowhere. A turn made at the perfect second. A strange flutter on the wing, an unexplained warning that saved their lives. Most never knew the truth, that the signal was engineered, not mystical. The work of a man the establishment had dismissed. In a conflict defined by massive technological leaps, one of the most quietly effective innovations was born from a single insight. Sometimes the smallest disruptions reveal the biggest dangers. Frederick Miles didn't redesign engines. He didn't revolutionize radar. He didn't command squadrons or shape strategy. He gave pilots a chance. And in a dogfight where life and death are measured in milliseconds, that chance was priceless. This is the story of the invention everyone ignored, created by a man no one believed, that helped hold the line in one of history's most decisive battles. A reminder that even in the largest war the world had ever seen, survival sometimes depended on the lightest touch, the flutter of fabric in the wind.